Welcome back for another episode. One of my most popular videos is fixing the Rock Candy Xbox 360 controller. As you can see, I've obtained a few more, some with various issues such as the right stick on this one's a little bit knackered. I think one of them's got a dodgy right trigger. In fact, look, that one's got a dodgy trigger. Not coming on, which I suspect is the same as previous issue in my last video. I did have a few questions about how to do it properly, so I'm going to go a bit more in depth and just cover every point I can, and hopefully it's going to be the be all and end all of these Rock Candy. So I'll work my way through these controllers and we'll see what happens with them, so maybe we can get them all started and fixed. I've tried all these Rock Candy controllers and none of them are actually turning on, so I've bought a load of USB wiring. These are actually fabricked USB wiring. Hopefully it'll be a lot more durable than the currently rubber coated ones. So these are USB to mini USB leads, charging leads I'm assuming. Yeah, this should be fine for what I'm doing. I mean, essentially you just cut the mini USB bit off and solder it in like on my last video. So we'll get cracking with that, and back in a second taking it all apart. So this one's had a few stickers on it and what have you from the warranty return. So I'll show you how to soak them off when we get to it, but just take it apart as we usually do. Phillips screwdriver and just take off all the screws. Okay, now the back's off. You'll see that there's two types of screws. There's a shorter length one and a longer length one. The longer length one goes in the middle here, and that's the only place where they go. So that one and that, and that's where they go. It's very grubby in this case, so as I say, I'm going to show you how to soak it off later. One of the comments I did get on one of my previous video is, why don't you just replace the connector? Well, the issue is not with this connector, which is the breakaway plug. It's actually with the lead total. I think as you're wrapping it around the controller, it just basically snags and cracks the wiring that's inside it. So you have to replace the whole lead. You can't just change the breakaway cable. It's got to be the whole lead. So as previously mentioned, the issue with this one is that it's not turning on, but I actually can see, I'm going to see if I can get that to focus in, the green wire just coming through is actually not attached. I didn't do that, it was already like that, so someone may have been pulling on it and it's just you know, regardless of whether it's got this grommet on it, it's just managed to come out of the connector. I mean, yes, you could reconnect that. It'd be a bit fiddly because you've got to recrimp it. I'm just going to actually completely change the wiring because these wirings, they're poor quality anyway, so I'm just going to completely change it all. So we do that by just taking the bits and pieces off the main circuit board. Be careful of the vibration motors because they are quite flimsy, so you just have to be careful with those because they will break off the solder points. And then you have to desolder the wire that comes in. To do that, you just have to turn on your soldering iron. Should have done that beforehand. Basically flood these solder joints with solder, and then as you're doing that, keeping the heat spread across them, just gently pull out the wire connector from the other side. Just keep pulling on it and it will actually come away. So once my soldering iron's up to temperature, I'll do that. So to replace the cable connector, what we first need to do is add a lot of solder to the connector on the reverse side. The whole point of this is so we get a large liquid section of solder, so you can pull on the connector from the other side, and just as you're heating it up evenly between all the connectors, you just pull in, and because the solder's molten, it'll slowly come away from the board, pulling the prongs through as you're doing it. Takes a bit of practice. I don't have the practice, but it is coming through. There we go. Comes straight out, all in one piece. None of this hacking away with a screwdriver like I did last time. And then you need to suck up the remaining solder that you've got there, either with a solder sucker or with your solder wick. Either way is fine, just get rid of the solder so you can reveal the holes, and then you can put the wiring for your other connector into it. Make sure you remove all the solder you can, revealing the holes. So, not great, I'll tidy it up a little bit more, but as you can see, the connector's off. We've got a little bit of holes on there, and then it's time for your wiring. So, in fact, before we start the wiring, as you can see, the connector's been removed. You've got the holes ready for wiring. Not great, I'll clean that up a little bit more. Now it's time to remove the grommet from your original wiring. Now the point of this is so when you're pulling on the wire, it's not pulling the connector parts out of the main circuit board. This is a bit of a pain. I'm not going to lie to you, to remove this piece of grommet, because it's actually stuck to the wiring. So it involves a lot of pulling, a lot of swearing, and a lot of digging out with screwdrivers and what have you. You don't have to use it, but there's a hole for it. It's there to you know, save your wiring from being pulled out. So I'm gonna jump this because it's not going to be pretty, but be back in a few minutes. Well, I have to say that was relatively harmless. Just kept pulling and it came out. Obviously a bit of damage to the wire, but it doesn't matter because you're going to end up binning this. So in that goes in the bin, and you've got your grommet, which you can use for your new wire. So you can use any type of USB wire. I've just happened to use this one because it's white, and I kind of like the fabric nature of it. What you need to do is cut off the end you're not using. So this is the end, not the USB, regular USB end that will plug into your Xbox. Just cut off your end. I always like to leave a little bit extra, just so I can reuse that lead for something else later date. Bit of a top tip for you: don't spray the wires yet to resolder, because you need to put them through your through your grommet. Another top tip: use a little bit of tape, especially on these fabric ends, because you'll end up pushing the fabric down when you're pushing it through, and it's a bit of a nightmare to get it through your grommet. So make sure you orientate your grommet in correctly, squeeze it in, I might have done that tape a little bit too thick. See what happens. It is going in there. Keep pulling it through. Maybe a little bit too thick. Yeah, just trim off some of that tape. Maybe do that again. Push it through the grommet. A little bit better that time, there we go. So the grommet's on the wire, get rid of a piece of tape, and then you can start splaying your wire. Now you can reveal the wire, you can use wire cutters, or just trim off the the coating with some scissors, a bit of nail, and there you go. There are your 4 USB wires. Take your original bits that you removed, reveal the case, so reveal the wiring, and you'll see where the wiring needs to go. Now, handily, it's also referenced on your controller where everything needs to go. But if you take your connector, you can always use it as a reference if you get your controller the right way, as it was, which is like that. So your black is ground, your VCC is red, DM is white, and DP is green. So once you get all that sorted, trim off the ends of your wire, pop them through, solder them on, and away you go. So that's everything soldered on. Now, before anything else, what you need to do is test it. Make sure you got your connections right, make sure it works, test all the buttons. I usually use a Windows machine because you can use these pads on a Windows machine, and go into the control settings and test the pads there. You can test all the buttons. So I'll do that quickly and then I'll come back. So I've checked that, it all works fine. What I'm going to do now is just a bit of hot glue just across the connections. People don't like using hot glue just because you know, it's a bit too permanent. You can pick off hot glue, you can melt it off, you can do, you know, usually just pick it off with a screwdriver or your fingernail, but it just stops these fragile connections just coming out, just like actually what was wrong with this controller in the first place. So let's see if this is up to temperature yet. Yeah, let's get the colder, older stuff out. Bit of hot glue, not too much, just enough, just to, there we go, just to keep that secure, to stop anything shorting out should one come out, and that's it. So what I'll do now is I'll clean up these case bits. Basically there's lots of grime and what have you in the seals and on the buttons. There's the sticker marks from the warranty stickers. All you need to do, throw them in a washing up bowl with some washing up liquid, leave them to soak, and then just rub it off and it'll come off wonders. You can throw it in the dishwasher, maybe a bit of an issue with the stickers, but the grime and certainly the dirt will come off in the dishwasher, but I'll just use the washing up bowl and I'll be back in 15-20 minutes. Okay, so I've cleaned up these pieces and it's time to pop it all back together. What we need to do is obviously remount everything back inside the cases. If I remember rightly, you need to pop on the controllers first and then just placing him down. Now the weights of the motors face towards you as you're putting them in. And it should literally just drop into position. May need a little squeezing, bit of finagling, but eventually, yeah, it will just drop into place. Okay, so what we need to do is sort out this grommet, just so it's in the right position. And you know what I've done? Put it on upside down. Okay, now I've sorted out that little faux pas. I've got the grommet on the right way around to now. So what I like to do now is pop a little bit more hot glue just around where the connector for the grommet goes, just on your wire there. As you move it into place, it'll spread the glue around a little bit, and it'll just hold it into place, just so if you do have any issues with pulling the grommet out, that'll sort it well out. So once that's in and dried, you can screw it all back together. Now, I did forget to put these back in, but it's just a simple case of lifting up the case, popping on your thumb pads, thumbsticks. Oh, I did one, but I didn't do the other. That's very odd of me. And making sure everything fits into place. I've already tested to see if it works. It does work. And screw it all back together. So simple as that, really. Say simple. Made a few mistakes on the way, but easily rectified. Put the back case back on, remembering that the long screws of the case go into these positions in the middle, and then once it's all snapped back together, screw it all back in, and away you go. So hopefully that's answered a few questions. Maybe there's going to be a few more questions, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll show some more fixes for these rock candy pads in the next few episodes, but hopefully that will sort you out. But if you want to leave a comment, let me know. Do a thumbs up or what have you. But yeah, that's it for this episode. So see you next time.